So many of my friends and many of even you guys watching my videos might know this about me. Last year, I really jumped into the PS1 era of JRPGs. Like, I played games like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, Xenogears, and after playing these games, I was really interested in getting more into these kinds of games like Legend of Dragoon, Chrono Cross, Kodelka, so many more of these kinds of games, because I was just instantly hooked on the effectiveness yet the simplicity of these games and how they very creatively present their worlds and how they creatively implement new combat systems, all that stuff. But last year I was also very surprised in the month of June in the Xbox showcase where we got introduced to Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a new AAA style turn-based RPG made by Sandfall and Kepler Interactive, and instantly this game was on my radar. I heard a lot of people comparing it to Legend of Dragoon, Lost Odyssey. The developers themselves said that they're inspired by PS1 era RPGs like Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9, and the more we saw of this game, the more I was just sold, and I was really into this game. We saw the world map, which really reminded me of like FF9 and Xenogears. The combat looked amazing, the characters and the story were really enticing, but then before I knew it, this game just kind of came out of nowhere. It just creeped up onto me out of nowhere because, as you guys know, for the past month I've been incredibly Xenoblade pilled, been playing Xenoblade X non-stop, been streaming it on the channel. It's been a lot of fun, and then I realized a week before release I was like, oh yeah, this game is coming out, I should remember to get this game and to play this game. And then out of nowhere, I had my Metacritic prediction to about like high 80s, low 90s, but I was very happy to see a solid 92. And on top of that, I was very surprised, yet incredibly happy to see that this is supposedly the highest rated user scored game on Metacritic, which is incredible. This is me talking about maybe 2 weeks into playing this game. I just want to give you guys an impressions video. This is not really a review, and yeah, I will just say I'm really enjoying this game. It's really awesome, and I gotta gush about it. So how's it poppin', guys? It's me, Nish Quick Pops, and today I will give you my 2 weeks impressions of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 as sort of a newer fan of classic JRPGs, as this game is blending both classic and modern elements to create sort of a new kind of standard for modern JRPGs. So if you guys enjoy JRPGs, if you guys are enjoying Clair Obscur Expedition 33, give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Anyways, so first of all, I will say I really like the writing and the dialogue in this game. It is very heartfelt, very emotional. I guess I could say it's very raw. A lot of even non-JRPG games in the modern age, you hear dialogue, you hear a lot of these characters talking, and it just doesn't feel natural. Clair Obscur feels very natural, and it almost feels as intimate and as character driven as something like a Final Fantasy VII or 9. Like when I first played Final Fantasy VII, when I completed it, it was a very intimate game, like with how the characters are talking about how they feel, what's going through their minds, what's going through their emotions. And Final Fantasy IX, even more so, when you have like characters like Vivi, Zidane, Garnet really going through things as the story is going along, and you're really there for them every step of the way. And that goes doubly for the characters in Expedition 33. The exposition in Expedition 33, oh man, that's a tongue twister sort of, is really well portrayed. You instantly get attached to these characters, you understand their struggles and what they're going through, and a lot of that stuff, it returns in later cutscenes. Like the characters recall a lot of their past trauma, their past struggles, and it really humanizes them. It really brings you closer to what they're feeling. I really like that. And not only that, but I have noticed that this game is doing something that I really like that JRPGs do. And if you just talk to NPCs in the world, you will get like substantial world building. You'll get substantial lore. And not only that, sometimes the characters have like sort of like quick little banter and dialogue as you're even exploring the environments of this world. And even those like quick little like maybe 2 or 3 line conversations will give you so much insight on these characters and the world and the history of everything that's going on. And it's just really cool how intricately written this game is with its story, lore, and dialogue and all that stuff. So one thing, if you guys go back to my FF7 and FF9 videos, you will know that I really started to really appreciate and enjoy the pre-rendered backgrounds of those games. And what I like about those pre-rendered backgrounds is, of course, like sometimes they can get a little hard to like navigate and whatnot, but that doesn't really matter. My point is it really shows like the scale and the scope of these locations that you're exploring, like Cosmo Canyon in FF7 or Lindblum in Final Fantasy IX, or even with Xenogears does it in 3D, but you still have the limitations. It still isn't like super like vast and open world. And what these 2D and 3D backgrounds on the PS1 era do is it makes you pay attention to the most important things in the world, and it allows for the developers to design very intricately what these areas are supposed to be. They can highlight a lot of important elements and things like that, and I really like that. And you see the same with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Each of the like dungeons and areas you explore, they're not like super open world, they're not super like open-ended, they're generally kind of linear, but there are times where you will be exploring, you'll be going around doing things, and you will go off the beaten path. You might find some treasure, you might find some items like the colors of Lumina or extra pictos or extra money currency you can get. And that really reminded me of like my experiences with these PS1 games. Like, I would get stuck in like this labyrinth of a Xenogears dungeon, and then eventually I would find like a treasure that would give me a really awesome new part for my gear. Or in Final Fantasy VII, you're climbing up Mount Corel, and then you fall down like a whole like portion of the mountain, and then you find all these treasure at the bottom, which give you new weapons, it gives you more potions and ethers and all that stuff. And I really like that Expedition 33 gives you that sort of feeling of a PS1 game, exploring these environments that are not super open-ended. They're very tightly designed and very concisely laid out. And I really like how it's not really bloated in any of its environmental or level design as well. And not only is it tightly designed, but it's very intentionally designed as well. So that's a very big plus for this game, which I really enjoy. And I talked about this in my original video on Expedition 33. I think I released it in like January or early February, but you have a world map. It really reminds me of all these PS1 games I've been talking about in this video, but it really adds on to that with the transportation. Like, immediately when I got SKA, I was like, this world map feels so much more fun to explore now, because before that I was just running around, it was a little slow, and it did add to a lot of the scale of the environments. You're actually running around this gigantic continent, so it makes sense, you're gonna be a little slow. But with SKA, it's really cool because of course you run a little faster, you can explore a little faster, and then on top of that you can like explore areas with more upgrades. Like, once he learns the ability to swim, you can go to areas you haven't explored yet. Once he learns the ability to fly, you can do the same, you can go to areas you haven't explored. It's really cool, and I love how they incorporated a lot of that stuff into this game. Very JRPG coded right there. So now I want to get a little more into the combat. This is probably the biggest highlight of the entire game for me. And usually I am kind of like a balanced person between story and gameplay and combat and all that. And I used to be more of a gameplay person, but the more I started playing JRPGs, especially classic JRPGs, I got really more invested into the story. And this game is a very good balance between story and gameplay and all the stuff that I love in a video game. But the combat is just absolutely insane, guys. Like, I've been playing turn-based games ever since I was a kid. I've been playing Pokemon, I played Fire Emblem, I played Mario and Luigi, And then as I got older, I played Persona, I played Shin Megami Tensei, and then of course I got into like classic Final Fantasy through the PS1 games. I played Xenogears and all that stuff. So I am very like used to turn-based games, and I never really sat down and thought, what is my favorite turn-based combat system? There's a lot of cool videos out there, like a lot of cool list videos that some of my fellow JRPG content creators have made, and I never like sat down and thought like, oh, this specific combat system is my favorite. One that comes to mind is like Shin Megami Tensei 5. I haven't played Vengeance yet, but it seems like it'll add to that even more. But I really love the press turn system of Shin Megami Tensei 5, and even Metaphor ReFantazio. That press turn system is a lot of fun. And when I saw Expedition 33, I was like, wow, I'm starting to see a lot of games in the modern day start to blend action and turn-based. Like you see Trails Through Daybreak, Metaphor ReFantazio, and sort of Atelier Yumiya. I have to like look into that game a little more. I haven't really looked into that much. It looks pretty cool. But then you have Expedition 33. It's going the extra mile with this. Really going the extra mile with how it's incorporating turn-based and action commands. This game, like a lot of people say it's a hybrid and it really blends in action and turn-based. I would say it is still majority of the time it is a turn-based game. You're selecting your commands, you're strategizing based off of your turn-based commands, how you've built your characters. It plays very much like a traditional turn-based game. But there are a lot of really cool action elements in here, and like of course you got the dodges, you got the parrying, you got the jumping, and I found myself early on in this game absolutely getting my ass handed to me. Like for a lack of a better word, I sucked. I absolutely sucked at this game, and I thought to myself, I was like, wow, I could get through SMT5, I could get through Elden Ring and Bloodborne. Like, what's going on with me? Like, I thought I was like, I know I'm not the best at video games. You guys have seen my streams, my SMT5 streams, my Xenoblade X streams. Like, I'm not the best at video games. I like in terms of the skill department, I'm not really all that there. But I was like, wow, this game is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I was still having a lot of fun, but I realized that I need to take a step back and I need to really realize how these enemies are attacking, how these enemies are fighting against me. And I started to realize audio cues, movement cues, animation cues, and I just started to get the hang of it eventually. And I will be the first to tell you guys, I really think it's one of the most rewarding combat systems ever, because there are fights that took me upwards of like half an hour, 40 minutes, and it's not because I didn't have the right builds. I had a really good build for a lot of my characters in those particular fights, but it was just that parry window, the fact that I needed to keep my characters alive, and not only that, it was the allotment of my attributes. I was like, man, I'm getting one-shotted by these characters. Is it because my HP isn't high enough? Is it because my defense isn't leveled up enough to tank a lot of these attacks? So I was really getting my JRPG build brain, like my gears are grinding. And it reminded me of times where I was like strategizing for bosses in SMT5, Metaphor ReFantazio, all these games where I really had to like put my thinking cap on and really challenge myself to like best these really tough bosses. But even after some of the really tough bosses, I got later into the game, into like Act 2, and then I found myself really putting up a good fight now that I have understood the parry timings, I have understood how to spec my characters in the right way. And I feel like I still kind of suck at the game, but I'm doing a lot better than I was initially. And that's what I love about video games in general. Like, you're going to start off a game and you're probably not going to do very good at it, because it's a game. You have to learn the rules, you have to learn the mechanics, and it's not going to be easily handed to you. You're going to have to learn and adapt and really kind of understand what you have to do to fight the toughest enemies and progress the story. And that's what I'm really feeling with Expedition 33. I'm getting a really rewarding feeling from a lot of this, and it's a lot of fun. And not only can I sort of confidently say that this is now one of my favorite turn-based combat systems of all time, but I think it is probably one of the most unique combat systems I've ever experienced. Like, yeah, you got the blend of action and turn-based with like trails and metaphor, but this, like I said, it is majority still, it is turn-based, but your defensive measures with the parrying, the dodging, the jumping, with even more abilities and counter-attack measures that you're able to do in the game later on, it just feels so unique. Like, no other game is trying to do this. I know Lost Odyssey and Legend of Dragoon tried to sort of do this as well, but this is so unique. I feel like a lot of other developers and companies will start to do this as well, but I don't think any of them will get as creative as Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has gotten, and that's something I really truly appreciate about this game. And one final thing I want to talk about the gameplay is I want to go a little more in depth on the character building and the different play styles of these characters. And like I mentioned that you have attributes that you can allot to your characters, and it sort of reminds me of a Souls game. A lot of some of the like minor kind of mechanics in this game, like the consumables, the potions, a lot of that stuff, the checkpoints, the stat attributions, a lot of that reminds me of like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring or a Bloodborne. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And not only that, but some of your weapons, like in a Souls game, will scale based off of some of your attributes and your stats. So you might want to prioritize some of those. So that's very interesting, seeing which characters synergize with different playstyles and different attributes and all that. That's been a lot of fun to experiment and play around with. And not only that, but I have been kind of, I wouldn't say sick of job systems in RPGs, but I've been playing a lot of games with job systems. Like I played Xenoblade 3, I played Xenoblade X recently, and then I had Metaphor, where you can kind of like throw any job at any of your characters and it would eventually work out. I like that. I like that for certain games, but at times that can get a little annoying and it can get a little less unique with the characters you're playing as, because I'm like, hey, if all these guys can be mages, then what's so special about them? If all these guys can be brawlers and fisticuff fighters, like what's so fun about that, you know? And of course you have so many different layers of customization in those games, but I really like how Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is harkening back to sort of like I see similarities to Final Fantasy IX. Like, Final Fantasy IX didn't have a traditional job system. You had a lot of characters who were, like, set in their own specific class or specific job. Zidane is your thief. Freya is your dragoon. Vivi is your black mage. Things like that. And I like that. Even another example I can think of is Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Like, I sort of miss that aspect of Xenoblade where, like, Rhine was your tank, Shulk was your glass cannon, Melio was your mage, things like that. And even, yeah, here in Expedition 33, you have a lot of that as well. And each character maybe doesn't have, like, a specific, like, RPG job class that they correspond to, but they have a specific play style which is intrinsic to that character, and I love that. And it feels good to have that character in your party to fulfill that specific need. Like in the early game, when I wanted to like hit some really hard melee attacks, I would make sure to always have Gustav on my team, do Lumiere Assault to load up all his overdrive charges, and then just go ham on all the really tough bosses with the overcharge. And that was a lot of fun. Not only that, but Lune is a mainstay on my party every single battle, because if I start with Lune, I will use Wildfire, I will burn all the enemies I can, and whenever it's Lune's turn next, I will find a corresponding skill that can consume the fire and light stain so I can increase my damage or get some additional effects. But since a lot of the enemies on the field have been burned already by Lune's wildfire, then I can go in with my L and get into virtuous stance because the enemies are burned. I can also do this really cool attack with CL. If she attacks an enemy that is burned, then every other enemy that is also burned will also be affected by this attack and also get 10 foretell, which is CL's unique battle gimmick that she has. I've always had Lune and CL on my team because they're the most fun to play, in my opinion. I always like to try to get CL into Twilight mode as soon as possible, rack up as much foretell as possible, and then consume it all and just get really high damage numbers. It's a lot of fun. And I really like each character's playstyle. I recently just got the character Monaco. I haven't played around with him much, but he seems to be sort of like your blue mage character. It's always nice to have variety in your combat systems and always have variety with your characters that you're having in your party and how they're built and how they are spec'd up. So I really enjoy that with this game. It's a lot of fun to play around with the different mechanics and play around with the different play styles in this game. Okay, I've been rambling on for so much right now, and I think I will end with this one thing about the story. I talked a little bit about the story and the characters and a lot of that. This video is generally spoiler-free, or it is spoiler-free. Even the footage that I'm going to have on here, I'm not going to have anything very spoilery because I can't really talk about a lot of the story much. Many of you guys might know the premise of this game already. I don't want to recap that, but I just want to say that this story is... it's doing things that I love to see in JRPGs. It has a lot of mysticism, it has a lot of mystical storytelling, it has a lot of existential writing and character development. And I love that. I love that in a lot of my video game stories. That's something that I feel like video games do better than so many other forms of media, and specifically JRPGs. Of course, I talk about this a lot. Xenoblade, SMT, Persona, Metaphor, a lot of these games have these kinds of stories. Final Fantasy, specifically the ones that I've played, have these very introspective, existential stories about life and death and a lot of that stuff, going into very heavy stuff relating to what these characters are going through. And Expedition 33 is no exception. It's not pulling the punches, it's doing really good stuff with its writing, and I really enjoy that. I will say, without spoiling much, this game is taking a lot of risks. There are many times in video games where we get to a point in the game and we're like, oh man, well, why didn't they just go a little bit of the extra mile? Why didn't they just do what we wanted them to do? Why didn't they just take a risk with the storytelling? And this game has been taking risks, non-stop. Seriously, this game has been doing things that has been surprising me, seriously, with its storytelling, with its writing, with its pacing. The pacing is also very great. That's one thing that JRPGs kind of struggle with sometimes. These games are very long, they're very drawn out, they have a lot of content in them. Sometimes the pacing can get a little all over the place and a little dry and a little long, but there's honestly never a dull moment in this game. There are some times where I feel like, oh my god, there's so many things happening, I need to take a break, I need to explore the world, and I need to do some side content to pace myself out. It's not that I'm searching for all the hype moments or all the really cool story moments. They're always there in this game. It's really cool. And I will say, to close off this video, this game didn't really jump out to me initially. I started the game and I enjoyed it and I was like, oh, it's great, but I was still hoping to get a lot of that JRPG PS1 feeling that I've been telling you guys about, that feeling that I get when playing a Xenoblade game or a Final Fantasy game or something like that I'm so used to. This still felt like something unfamiliar and a little different. And of course the art style is different. These characters aren't anime style, they're not as cutesy or anything like that, so it was a little different to me in that way too, as silly as that may sound. But eventually I got to the end of Act 1 and I was pretty shocked with what I saw. And then I got like well into Act 2. Like I would say probably midway into Act 2, and I was very impressed with a lot of what the story is doing in terms of just the revelations, the pacing, the writing, the quiet moments, which I really love in JRPGs as well. The quiet moments where the characters just like sit down with each other and reflect on like what has been going on. And I feel like there's a lot of influence that this game has taken from some of the greats. I keep saying FF7, FF9. I see a little bit of like themes that I've been seeing from like even Xenoblade as well. A lot of people are saying, oh, Sandfall Interactive definitely played Xenoblade 3. I mean, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but a lot of these themes are very universal. So all the people who watch my Xenoblade videos or play Xenoblade, you guys will like where the story is going. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm hooked. I'm very curious to see what's going on. I'm very curious to see how it's all gonna end. So that's enough rambling. I gotta cut this down quite a bit. Very unscripted video, but this is just my 2 weeks impressions of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I think the only like major negative I have of the game is I kind of wish there was a mini-map, because sometimes I get a little lost. I'm like, I want to see where I've explored and where I haven't. Another thing is I had to move my PS5 into my room to play on my monitor, because with my like media room set up outside, my TV is like a good distance away from the couch, and I literally I could not read any of the text in the command menus in any of the turn-based combat like battles at all. And also my eyesight is absolutely atrocious, so that might have something to play in with it as well. But like I really had to move my PS5 into my room, which is it's something I never have to do. It's kind of a hassle, but I had to do it for Expedition 33. So those are the only negatives I have with the game so far. If you haven't played this game, play it. It's on Game Pass. If you're hesitant, get a free trial or like a 3 months thing for Xbox Game Pass and play it. But the better yet, just get it on Steam, get it on PS5, support these developers. They're doing some really great stuff, and they're very passionate about what they're doing. I'm very, very incredibly excited to see what they're going to do in the future. I will probably make more videos on this game. This is just my impressions video. I might make a full-on review. I might at least have an EXP podcast episode, because I know a lot of fellow friends and fellow content creators are playing this game. I might want to bring one of them on to the channel to talk about how we've both been really enjoying this. If you've been playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. And what is your favorite thing about this game? Does it remind you of classic JRPGs? Does it give you a little bit of a Xenoblade vibe as well? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more content just like this. This is Nishquick signing off. Have a great day. Go play some great games today, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you were a fan of JRPGs, drop whatever you're doing, drop whatever you're playing, and play this game instead. I'll see you guys in the next one later. Hey guys, this is Nishquick. Thank you so much for watching that video. And if you enjoyed it, check out these 2 videos on the left, and maybe subscribe if you haven't on your way out. And big shout out to all my channel members whose names you can see on the screen right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.